everybody, happy Saturday evening tutorial stream. How are y'all doing out there on the in the wilds of the internet? I hope everyone has had a fantastic Saturday. We have been blessed with the presence of some of our favorite people in the store here at Beading Dreams tonight. So if you hear a little bit of chit chat behind me, that's because we got awesome peeps hanging out and shopping. Our fabulous findings trunk show started yesterday. So anybody who's local in Dallas, we have all of the findings, all of them ever in the history of the world. They are all here. We've got clasps, earring findings, components, beads, you name it, sterling silver, gold vermeil, bronze and copper. That's going to be here through the second week of December. We're not going to be doing findings on the sale tonight at 7:30, but we are going to start running those through next week. So Wednesday is going to be our first live online sale. It's going to feature this iteration of the fabulous findings trunk show. My vendors, they have just been riding out COVID and not really doing a whole lot. So they were basically like, we've got all of this stock and we're not going to do anything with it. Do you just want to hang on to it for like 6 weeks? I'm like, yes, yes, please. I mean, I hope to God my store doesn't burn down, because that would be terrible. But other than that, like, I'm like, yes, please, give me all of the findings. Hey, Lori, what did you have for supper? Just because I like to torture myself. And how's Turbo? Alright, so tonight is Chain of Tears necklace. So this is basic top drilled wire wrapping. So for most of you out there who are regulars, this is going to be a review skill. This is more of a back to basics kind of skill. This is something that you guys probably have under your belt, but you know, if it's something you've been having a little bit of trouble with, it never hurts to kind of go back and touch base with those basic techniques, kind of refine them. And it's such a fundamental skill. Like once you've mastered your basic wire wrapping, this is really your next step. And as far as just, you know, opening up the gateway of all of the beads that you can utilize. So when I say top drilled teardrop wire wrapping, first of all, let me just pop up. So this is the type of project that we're going to do. So we're going to take some teardrop beads, we're going to hang them off a piece of chain. Lori, I once again don't like you at all. And hi, Amy! Yay! Will you see us on the live sale, or will we see you during the live sale? Bacon and Lori just sucks, y'all. Anyway, excuse me whilst I continue to whine about Lori and her amazing cooking that I don't get to eat because she's in Canada and I'm in Texas. What are you doing now? She had bacon and French toast with whipped cream, maple syrup, and blueberry compote for dinner.
Wow.
Right?
Right?
I think the entire Beading Dreams gang is now
We're all coming.
saddling up and coming to your house, Lori, because that sounds so good. Okay, Amy, well, we will be happy to see you watching from home as well, and we send you lots of hugs and positive energy. So, when I'm talking about top drilled teardrop beads, this is the type of bead. Oh, I didn't even focus that. So let's see. Are you focused? Hey, you are sort of focused. That's exciting. So this is the type of bead I am talking about where, so I'm just cutting a piece of wire so I can show y'all, where the hole in the bead goes across the point rather than down through the central axis of the bead. And so these are, hey, Jenny J. Molly is here.
Hi, Jenny.
She says, hi. Molly says hi. That's her hand that you can barely see there. So this is what we call a top drill bead. Some people call these side drilled beads. You know, it's just a matter of whatever terminology makes sense to you. But the thing about these is you can't do these with just a basic wire wrap, because if you just did them, say, on a head pin with a basic wire wrap, of course they'd be sideways, which is not what we want. We want to be able to wrap them so that they hang down. So let's talk tools and supplies for this evening's tutorial. All right, you're gonna need some chain. So I have one of my brand spanking new chains that I got on my Denver shopping trip. So I'm very excited to use this brand new chain. Molly Jenny says hi, and she will join you some Saturday. That would be fun.
Yay, I can't wait.
And so I'm going to be using that chain. And you can really use any chain, and this is one of those where you can, once again, you can scale it up, you can scale it down. You can use big, chunky chain like this one, or like the one in the project photo here, or you can use teeny tiny little dainty chain. The only kind of metric here, the only thing you have to make sure happens is you have to make sure that you can get wire through the link of a chain, which means that anything like a snake chain or a foxtail chain, anything that doesn't have a link, box chains, the littler ones are also difficult, so anything that doesn't have a link that you can put a wire through, that's kind of out the door for this project, but anything else is totally fair game. So you're going to need some chain, enough to make whatever link necklace you want, so I've got about 18 inches of chain here. You're going to need a clasp, so I just have a little hook and eye clasp that I'm going to be using. You're going to need beads, and I have chosen these large Indian agate top drilled teardrops, and I may throw in for just some accents some of these little black spinel teardrops. These are significantly smaller than the Indian agate teardrops. And then you are going to need wire. So I'm going to be using some gold-filled 26 gauge wire when you're wrapping teardrops. 26 a lot of times is the gauge that you need, 26 or even 28. Like when Heather was very kindly helping me with my little absinthe earrings during the Zoom yesterday, we had to bust out the 28 gauge wire because the 26 gauge didn't actually fit through these teardrops. And you do want to be careful when you're using teardrops, because this drill here, it's pretty fragile, because you can see, especially you can really see on this one, the drill hole on this one's not even really centered on the stone, and so this part right here is very delicate. So if you try and use too thick of a wire, when you do the first step in the process, which is going to be bending the wire up against the holes of the bead, you can actually pop the top of your bead right off, which is unfortunate, because then you're left with a bead that has no kind of hole whatsoever. And then if you're using a soldered chain, you are probably going to need one jump ring or two jump rings to attach your clasp, depending upon how your clasp is constructed. My little brass hook and eye here, this side is open, but this side is not, so I'm going to need a jump ring for this side, not necessarily for that side. And then as far as tools go, you're just going to need your basics. That means you are going to need your round nose pliers, you're going to need your chain nose pliers, and you are going to need a wire cutter. Alright, so let's start by cutting ourselves some wire. This is one of those classes where you just need a piece of wire off of which to work, so you don't necessarily have to cut any particular length for starters. So I'm just going to start with about 18 inches of wire. Now for some people that's a little bit long of a piece to work off of. Some people find that 18 inches is a piece, really, it would be really nice if my camera would like decide to focus on me. I realize I'm really pale, camera, but come on. Heather's camera didn't have any trouble focusing on her, and she's just as pale as me. Anyway. Sorry, it's the end of the workday, at the end of the work week. I may be just a little bit grouchy, really like this much. Just a little grouch. Small grouch. Small with an O. So 18 inches of wire is too much for some people to work off of, and you may actually see myself struggling not to whack myself in the face with this wire, and I may wind up cutting it down, but the more wire you have to work off of, the less waste you're going to have ultimately. So it you know, sometimes comes down to what do you want to waste? Do you want to waste wire, or do you want to waste time? Or do you want to stab yourself in the face? You know, all of these things are valid or possible. Stabbing yourself in the face would be the one that I do not recommend. So I'm going to go ahead and just pick out an odd number of these big teardrops. I've got 5 of the larger teardrops, and then I'm going to put the smaller teardrops in between if I have time. We're going to see how far I get on this project. And this is, I mean, one of the cool things about a lot of beaded pieces is you don't have to be done when you're done. Like, I can finish this tutorial, and then I can always go back later and I can add more beads onto this necklace. So it's nice that it can kind of, you know, in some instances be an evolving sort of buildable project. Alright, so I'm going to start with what I've chosen to be my center teardrop, because this is the most interesting one, I think. So I've got one of my Indian agate teardrops that's going to be my center. And I'm going to take my wire, my 26 gauge gold filled wire, and I'm going to put it through the hole in the bead. And what I want when I do this is I want a short side and a long side. Okay, so I want one side to be about an inch, inch and a half, and I want the entire rest of my wire to be on the other side. Okay, so I got a pretty long piece of wire going here, and you know, I think when I cut 18 inches, I actually cut more like 2 feet. But anyway, so all of the rest of your wire on one side, inch and a half on the other side. I'm going to take that wire and I'm going to bend it against the holes of the bead, and I want to bend it nice and tightly against the holes of my bead so that I make a pretty tight little triangle. And I want, if at all possible, I want the point of that triangle to be centered above the point of your bead. And that's going to ensure that your bead hangs straight once we're done wrapping it. Now I'm going to grab my chain nose pliers. Those are the flat ones. Those are the ones that I use for grabbing, holding, and squashing things. I'm going to take my chain nose pliers and I'm going to grab the long wire. Okay, so this is the short one. This one that's extending off the screen is the long one. I'm going to grab the long wire directly above the point where those two wires cross. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my chain nose pliers and bend my wire back so that I center it above the central axis of the bead. Right. Like so. Is my sound okay, y'all? We had Zoom last night, so every time I screw with my sound settings, I'm like paranoid that my broadcast is going to be weird. Nobody said anything, so I'm assuming it's fine. And then we're going to take our wire that we didn't bend. This is the shorter wire. Okay, so the long wire I bent and centered above the central axis of the bead. I'm going to take the short wire, wrap it around the long wire, and we do that. Awesome. Thank you, Lori. 1.5 times. Okay, and this I just do with my fingers. So I'm holding my bead, I'm kind of bracing my wire, and I'm just going to coil that around 1.5 to 2 times. Thanks, ASO. Like I said, every time I mess with the setting, I feel like I'm like, you know, tempting the mischievous little demons that live inside of the computer to just like mess with my entire life. So it's good to know that I have sound and it's working well. So once you've gone around 1.5 to 2 times, I'm going to trim off that wire. And that is going to make a little pointy stabby. We don't like pointy stabbies on the Beading Dreams stream, so we're going to go ahead and take our chain nose pliers. I'm going to press that down. Like that. Alright, so now we've created bead on a stick. Yay, bead on a stick. Now we're going to do part 2 of the process. Okay, so this bead on a stick is part 1. Of the process. Part 2 is going to be making the basic wire wrap loop, and then we will also go over if you want to make a little wire hat on top of your bead, how to do that as well. So now I'm going to grab my round nose pliers. Round nose pliers are exactly as you would assume from the name. They are rounded. These are used for making loops. Now I need to bear in mind that the loops on my chain, the links on my chain, I'm going to put my beads on these big honkin' links. Okay, these are not small, so I can't make a teeny tiny bitty loop. It's not going to fit. So I'm going to have to go a little bit further down on my pliers like so. Now we're going to do a basic wire wrap loop. So anybody who's a regular on the Beading Dreams stream knows about my love affair with the basic wire wrap loop, about how I think it's pretty much the most useful thing that you can teach yourself. You know why? Because it is. And we have a number of tutorials out there on basic wire wrap loops, and we will of course continue to put up more of those in the future every once in a while. But for now, here is the basic wire wrap loop. You're going to take your round nose pliers and you're going to place them so that they are touching the top of the wrap that you just finished. Now I've got my pliers in my dominant hand. That's my right hand for me. Hey Heather. Alright, my left hand is the hand that's going to be doing most of my wire moving. So we're going to go away from us over my pliers to make a 90-degree angle. So I just push that wire down. Then I'm going to hang on to my bead and I'm going to loosen my pliers, rotate them 1/8 of a turn, and grab again right on that corner. Then I'm going to take this long wire, trying not to hit myself in the face, pull it back up over the top of your pliers, like so. So now what I'm doing is I'm starting to create a loop around those pliers. Now, I'm going to loosen our pliers, rotate them again, and grab. So what I needed to do, why I did that rotation just then, is this corner here is important. I need to be able to see that. Then I'm going to take my wire and I'm just going to finish that loop by going underneath my pliers, and I want to make a 90 or close to 90-degree angle between this wire and this wire. I didn't quite get it, but I'm pretty close. And this is the shape that we hear on the Beading Dream Stream called the lady with a scarf. It's like a lady if she were in a convertible, motoring along with the top down and a long scarf trailing dramatically out behind her. You don't hit yourself in the face. Are you doing it right? Well, that's a good point, Lori. I would say for me it depends on the day. Okay, now that I have my lady with a scarf, I need to figure out where on my chain I'm going to put this. And so I want to start in the middle, which means I'm going to just line up the ends of my chain and find the center link. Right, that is the center link. Now I'm going to grab my wire and I'm going to find the very end of that wire and I'm going to feed that up through my link. And I'm just going to pop that loop over my link of chain. Like so. Okay, so now my link of chain is completely enclosed in my wire loop. Now, here is a little cheater trick. I always say don't hold things with your round nose pliers because you really shouldn't hold things with your round nose pliers. The reason for that is because you get a lot of pressure on the inner jaws of your pliers and you tend to make dents in things. But when you've got something like this where you don't have a whole lot of space, what I need to do is I need to hold across this loop above the point where those two wires cross. So there's not a whole lot of space to do that. So if I try and do that with my chain nose pliers, which are a little bit fatter than my round nose, it's going to be really difficult for me. So this is one of the few instances where I will grab my round nose pliers and use them to hold. And then I'm going to wrap my wire starting at the base of that circle, so starting right where I have that little bend, and going all the way down until I meet the wrap that's already there. When you're coiling, you just want to pull on your wire so you get nice tight coils. You want those coils to be spaced so that there's not any distance in between them. And at this point, once I've met the end of wire that's already there, if I just want a basic top drilled wire wrap like this, I can cut my wire off. If I want to continue on and make a little wire hat for my bead, then what I'm going to do is I'm literally just going to keep wrapping. I'm going to keep wrapping down over the top of my bead. And sometimes it's tough to sort of get that situated. There we go. So I'm just going to keep wrapping down until I've covered up the holes in my bead. And that makes my little decorative wire what we call a hat. And then we're going to just bring that wire back up and wrap it around that sort of stick that we made once, or the neck, to anchor it off, and then we're going to trim. It might snow tonight in Edmonton. I changed my mind, Lori. I'm not coming to your house for dinner. Alberta.
Oh, wow.
And then once again, tuck in your pointy stabbies. Heather, on the other hand, is still coming to your house for dinner.
Yeah.
Me, not so much. I will skip the rain, cold, and snow yuck. Alright, and there we go. So that's my one bead attached onto my chain. So that's the start of my Chain of Tears necklace. And honestly, if you were like, okay, I'm officially done with this now, that I have no more patience, this could totally be a necklace all by itself. But of course, that's not what everybody came to the Beading Dream Stream for tonight. So we are going to continue to add some more beads onto our necklace. Alright, we're going to have a caffeine first, and then we're going to add things onto our night.
Oh, do you have ice in a cup? I brought a Coke.
Maybe. We definitely have a
Or
cup.
can I trade you a not so cold Coke with a Coke?
We don't have any cold.
Diet Coke.
But I think we have ice.
But we might have ice.
Oh, what Coke do you want it in?
My
Alright.
Coke. Is this it?
So, that one's mine.
That's yours. It's in my bag.
Alright, so I'm going to take my, oh, Lord. See, we had, okay, so I'm going to start this basic, or this top drilled technique again. So again, putting my wire through,
Doesn't matter.
and I have a short side and a long side. Now, sealer, we had a kind of a chilly morning the other morning, and I was like this close to turning on the heater, but I was like, no, it's gonna get up to like 75 degrees later. Don't turn on the heater just for that. Put on a sweater. So I'm waiting literally as long as humanly possible to turn my heater on. Alright, I've got my wire bent up against the holes in my beads, so I make a triangle. Again, I want the point of that triangle to be directly above the point of my bead. And I'm going to grab with my chain nose pliers on that long wire. Okay, so that's the short wire you can see there. This is the long wire that I'm grabbing on, and we're going to go ahead and just bend that up so that we center it above the central axis of the bead. Then I'm going to wrap the short wire around the long wire 1.5 to 2 times. The reason I'm only doing 1.5 to 2 times on this wrap here is because I don't want it to get too long. Because it's not necessarily about the wrap. It should, of course, be about the bead. And then we're going to trim that excess wire off, and we're going to press our pointy stabby end down. Now we're going to go ahead and do the basic wire wrap part of this. So I'm going to take my pliers, and I'm going to hold so that they are touching that top wrap, and then we're going to go away, rotate, back up over the top, rotate, underneath. That should give us Our Lady with a Scarf. Now, how far apart do I want to put these? I think I'm going to put them every other large length so that if I want to, I can go back and put a little black bead in between. So that means that I'm going to skip this one, and this one's going to be my next link. Now, when I'm doing this, anytime you're working with chain, and I pick this chain specifically for the stream because it is easy for me to show you all what I mean on this. So when you're dealing with chain, that's a cable style chain, you're always going to have your links that are going perpendicular to each other. And this one's really easy because it's got all of these bigger links that are all going the same direction. But you need to make sure when you're doing this that you're putting your beads always on the same side of your link. Because if you put them, you know, if I put my next bead up here, my necklace is always going to be kind of twisty. It's not going to lay properly. So I'm going to do this link, and I want to put my bead on this side. So here's my little trick for that. Is what I'm going to do is I'm going to locate where I need to put my bead, and then I'm just going to fold my chain in half, like so that that side of my link is exposed. That makes it literally impossible for me to accidentally put my link, or my bead, on the wrong side of my link. And I'm going to take my wire, I'm going to go up through my link, and then make my loop go around my link. So I want to make sure that my loop of wire apparently is falling down. Oops. Let's try that again, shall we? Once more, with feeling. And also a modicum of skill.
Thank you, darling.
We're not very big
That
glasses.
works.
Okay.
Just
And you
fine.
still got some Diet Coke up there.
Thank you.
Sure.
Alright, there we go. Much better. Now again, I'm gonna use my cheater technique of holding it across with my round nose pliers. You're gonna do this, you just wanna make sure you do this fairly gently, because especially with this 26 gauge wire, if you press too hard with your round nose, you are literally gonna cut through your wire with your pliers. I'm not even joking here. So I'm gonna wrap down until I meet the end that's already there. And then if I want to do a hat, which I am going to do because I want to keep my look consistent, I can put down my pliers and just use my fingers to hold and just keep wrapping down. The other thing that I find a lot of times with hat wrapping is at some point I'm going to switch around to holding the bead instead of holding the loop like I am now. And you just want to keep wrapping down until you've covered over the holes in your bead. And sometimes I can get this to look really nice and neat, and sometimes I can't. Apparently today is one of those second kinds of days, so you know, don't be too hard on yourself if you can't get it completely neat and tidy on your first, second, third, or even 50th time, because this is probably at least the 700 or 800th wrap of these that I have done in my career, and I'm just having a day where it's turning out a little bit more organic, and that's totally fine. I'm going to take my wire up and I'm just going to anchor it right here around this little neck that I made. Like so. And then trim, and of course tuck in the pokey stabbies. Smoosh. Gentle smoosh. Okay, whenever you're tucking in these little pointy stabbies, it's always about gentle compression with the pliers, alright? We're not trying to like smash the living daylights out of these poor babies, because you're going to wind up with a really ugly looking wire wrap if you do that. So just gently compress with the chain nose pliers. That's how you make your pointy stabbies go away. Alright, so now we're on to, alright, I think I've got enough wire here to do one more. So I'm going to take my teardrop. We're going to put that wire through. I'm going to make a triangle. We're going to bend that long wire up so that it's centered over the central axis of the bead. We're going to wrap the short one around the long one 1.5 to 2 times. Trim. And gently compress your pointy stabby bit. So, now we do our basic wire wrap loop. Around those pliers. I'm going to go away. Rotate, back over the top, rotate underneath. That makes our baby with a scarf. So I've decided I'm going to skip one, do this one, fold that chain in half, use my wire end to thread through that chain link. So when you're linking, that was actually the smoothest that has gone this whole tutorial. So when you're linking that onto your chain link, and again, I picked this chain specifically so that it would be easy for you all to see. It's important to note that there's only one pathway that will get you in there. So people tend to sometimes, you know, if you twist your bead the wrong way, you can't get it to thread. So just, you know, look for the gateway, look for the opening, and that will help, hopefully, if you're having any angst about getting your bead onto that link, hopefully that will help you with that. And I'm going to hold that loop and I'm just going to wrap. And I'm going to continue wrapping down over my bead. Like I said, today is one of those days where these things are just going to be more organic, and I am choosing to be okay with that, because not being okay with it isn't going to change it. and so if you're okay with the organic look, you can kind of do a little bit of down, a little bit of up to fill in your holes that you can see, and then I'm just going to come back up here to the neck of my wire wrap, wrap around once or twice to anchor it, and then trim that off and press my end down. So if you're going to do a hat wrap like this, usually I will say to allow about 8 to 12 inches per bead, depending upon, you know, how intense you want to get with that hat wrap. Heather, you're not allowed to go. Just saying. Depending on how intense you want to get with that hat wrap. If you're not doing the hat wrap, then you're usually good with 2 to 3 inches per bead. I am so mean to you. I bought you lunch today and everything.
I know.
Because I'm so awful.
Yeah.
woman. Somebody
I
come
know.
rescue her.
Or at least bring snow.
No, don't bring snow here. No, that's not okay. You can come rescue the Heather and take her to the snow, but she has to be back in time for Wednesday's stream. Just saying.
Okay.
All right, we're going to go through the bead again and do our top drilled wire wrap. So I've made my triangle, and I'm going to put my chain nose pliers, bend that straight up. You know I love both of you. It's all in good fun. I mean, to be fair, I do the same thing to my father when he tells me what he made for dinner. Like, I hate you. Come cook for me here in Texas. Alright, that's my bead on a stick. Now we do basic wire wrap loop. Again, remember you gotta accommodate your basic wire wrap loop size to the size of your chain. I did actually eat good food today. I actually ate 2 meals today, which is a lot for me lately. So that's exciting. I did treat myself to sushi for lunch. Okay, so now I'm working on the other side of my necklace. So this is my center. So I'm going to skip one and use this one. Oh, and so I got, alright, so I was late to work today because I forgot that I had to drop something off at a client's house on the way to work, and so I was going to be like right on time, and then I was not. So I stopped to get my sushi for lunch, and I got cookies for the girls as an apology for being late. And they had little gingerbread cookies with skeletons iced on them. And Carol, halfway through the day, finally looked at the label for her cookie, and they had called them Ginger Dead Men, which was pretty hilarious.
They were so good.
Were they good? Awesome.
Yeah.
They weren't gluten-free, so I didn't get to try them. So I'm just relying upon the word of mouth. I'm also kind of banking on, you know, the fact that the Ginger Dead Men disappeared pretty quickly, which is usually the sign of a good cookie. Usually when the cookies linger, it's a sign of a substandard cookie of some sort. But the Ginger Dead Men did not linger. They did not. So hooray for that.
I should have taken a picture, but I put it in my face instead.
It's okay. I mean, they're at Eatsies. I can always get more. They have all kinds of cute things. So Eatsies, which I don't know if they're a national chain or if they're just a local chain.
I think they're a
here in
local
Dallas.
chain.
But it's basically grab and go food, and they have lots of. They're a little on the pricey side, but they've got great salads, great sandwiches, really solid cold case sushi. And I'm not always a cold case sushi person. I love sushi, but like cold case sushi and I don't always get along. They've got salads, they've got desserts, they've got cheese and meat. Like, it's a really great, just like run in and grab something that's, you know, it's more expensive than fast food, but less expensive than a restaurant. It's less expensive than delivery, and it's solidly good food. Like, it's, you know, not home cooked, but chef cooked and all of that. But they've recently added to their cold case sushi something that I absolutely love. So I've been going there more often than usual, and I really don't remember where I was going with that. Oh, they have lots of cute Halloween treats. So anybody who's local in Dallas who wants cute Halloween treats, they have the Ginger Dead Men, and they have little chocolate sugar skulls as well, which are really pretty.
And also delicious.
And cupcakes. Oh, did Sheena bring...
Yes.
I see. Alright, so this is my last bead on a stick. Now we're going to do our basic wire wrap loop. Round nose pliers. And we go away, rotate, back up over the top, rotate, underneath. That gives me my lady with the scarf. That lady's kind of wonky, but we're going to pretend she's not. And we're gonna add her onto, hey, more people. There's more people. Hi, more people. Welcome to Top Drilled Wire Wrapping, Chain of Tears necklace. This is what we are doing. I'm actually on the tail end of this project. I'm putting on the last bead. Did we get a raid or did we just get more people? I think we just got more people.
Just
Hi,
more people.
Awesome. Welcome to the Beading Dream stream. We like more people. Oh, what the? Really?
What?
Okay, am I still broadcasting?
Nothing's happened yet.
Okay. That's good. Because then I'm just going to pretend that I didn't just see that thing that I just saw. And Sherry Hammer just commented, so I must still be broadcasting on Facebook. So we're just going to pretend that the technology is working properly, because I think it is working properly. It's just not telling me that it is. Alright, cool. ET's does have wonderful bread. So I went there with a couple of girlfriends for dinner a couple of weeks ago, Monday, and one of them bought a baguette for later. I mean, a mini baguette, not a, like, 3-foot-long baguette. And then after we were done eating and chatting, she had to go back in and buy another baguette for later. Because something happened to that baguette. It was mysterious.
It is mysterious.
Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and insert this wire into my link and just feed my loop over there. Yes, that's a dopey looking lady with a scarf. No, I'm not going to worry about it. Fold across your loop and then wrap down until you get to that end, and then continue wrapping down over your bead. You know, sometimes your stuff is just dopey looking, and then it just comes down to, like, hey, do I have to do this now? In my case, the answer is yes, I do have to do this now. Like, I have to teach this tutorial now. I can't put this project down and come back to it another day when maybe my wraps are looking less dopey, so I just have to be okay with that. But if that's not the case for you, like, if you're having one of those days where things are like, wow, everything I'm doing today looks like a 5-year-old did it, remember, you can walk away. You can put it down, walk away, come back to it another day. And the older I get, the more I realize that there is less and less percentage in fighting the point of diminishing returns. Sometimes it's just better to put it down and go do something else. That was my soapbox lecture for this particular tutorial. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Pokey Stabby is going to get pushed in, and there we go. So if I want to, at a future time, I can go back and I can add some little beads in between. I do want to make sure that all these beads are facing the right way, and this is another thing, and this speaks to the finer technical points that I talk about a lot of, like, if this isn't something that your brain is ready for, then you can ignore these things I'm about to say. But notice how this loop, the way that this loop is oriented on this piece of chain, when it's hanging straight down, the side of my teardrop is what is technically front, and that's not what we want. Obviously, we want the front of the teardrop to be front. So the fix for that is exactly as easy as you think it might be. I'm literally just going to take that, rotate it a quarter of a turn, make sure that everything is, straight, and there you go. I literally fixed the problem in 2.5 seconds. Also, I just noticed that bead has a chip in it, but anyway. This one's fine, this one's fine, this one's not. So we've got the same problem, so we're just going to rotate that a quarter of a turn. And this one also, I'm going to rotate a quarter of a turn. So, you do want to make sure when you do that, hey, even more people! Hi, people! You do want to make sure when you do that, that you don't go crazy with the twisting. Because if if you're like, oh, I think I should twist it this way. Oh no, I should have twisted it that way. Oh no, I should have twisted it this way. Eventually your wire's going to break off. And that is obviously not what you want. So if you're going to do an adjustment like that, just make sure you look at it, evaluate, and do the least amount of manipulating possible with your wire. Okay, so the last thing that we need to do to make this a wearable necklace, and once again, I may go back and add some teardrops on those links in between. I may not. I'm on the fence at the moment about whether I want this to be a fuller piece or whether I like it, you know, with the chain being a little bit more of the design element. But the cool thing about this, like I said earlier, is I can wear this. I can finish this. I can wear it while I'm deciding. So I don't have to decide right now how I'm going to finish. Sorry, let's back up that sentence and start that again. I don't need to decide right now if I'm going to add more beads to this in order to make it a wearable necklace. What I do need to do in order to make it a wearable necklace is I need to put a clasp on it. So this one's going to be pretty easy. I've got this nice brass heavy hook and eye clasp. Hook and eye clasps are great for necklaces like this because the thing that keeps a hook and eye clasp fastened is the weight of the necklace pulling down, which this style of necklace is ideally suited to do. Something that is confusing to a lot of people when they buy hook and eye clasps or S-hook clasps is that the hooks oftentimes are sold bent completely closed. The reason for that is so that you don't lose this, so you don't lose the ring before you've purchased the clasp. So all you need to do to make this clasp actually function for you is use your pliers and just pull that open just a little bit. You don't want to pull it open too far because you want to have a little bit of tension on there, but that's all you have to do. Now, I love this clasp so much because this is a simple loop here, but it's a really sturdy wire. So I really don't need to worry about it coming undone. So all I'm going to do is open up that simple loop, grab my chain, drop the end of my chain onto that simple loop, maybe, get on there. There, alright, so the end of my chain's going onto the loop of that clasp, and then I'm going to close this up. Just make sure you got that loop completely closed, and we're good to go. So there's one side of my clasp. Now the other side is this completely closed loop that doesn't open. So that means I am going to need, in order to put that on, I am going to need a jump ring. A jump ring is just a round wire ring, or it can be an oval wire ring that is just turned around. It's not closed, so it has an opening. I'm just going to take 2 pairs of pliers and twist that jump ring open at the opening. I'm going to attach that to my chain, like so, and then I'm going to drop my other part of my clasp on there. That's my ring. And then I'm going to close that jump ring up, and once again, we want to make sure that it is completely closed. So what I used to say before I started wearing my fake nails is that you shouldn't be able to get a fingernail in there, but now I like to say you should not be able to see light in the joint of that jump ring when you hold it up to the light, because jump rings do get a bit of a bad reputation sometimes because of user error. And I mean, I'm sorry, but it really is. Like, people will oftentimes use jump rings that are too skinny, too flimsy for what they're, requiring the jump ring to do, and then get upset, when the jump ring doesn't hold, or not close the jump rings completely. And then once again get frustrated when their pieces fall off. So if you're using jump rings, just make sure you're, number one, using thick enough and sturdy enough jump rings to hold what you need to hold. Typically, I will not use any jump ring, generally, that's not 20 gauge or thicker. And number two, make sure you close your jump rings all the way. So that's it. That's our Chain of Tears necklace. All right, we got 5 tears on our chain tonight. And of course, I can always go back if I want to. There we go. Make sure they're all on the right side. I can always go back if I want to and add more. But that is your back to basics. What are you doing? It doesn't know what it's doing. I don't know what it's doing either. There we go. This is your Back to Basics Chain of Tears necklace, looking slightly less wonky at this point. Alright, so for anybody out there who doesn't know me, hey, I'm Allison from Beading Dreams in Dallas, Texas. We are an actual brick and mortar retail bead store. We're here in Dallas on Lover's Lane. You can come see us. If you're in town, whether you live here or you're just visiting, we are here Monday through Saturday from 1 p.m. until 6 p.m. If you're not local in Dallas, you can find us on this channel, twitch.tv/beadingdream, 5 times a week with complimentary tutorials. We do stream for free. 5 tutorials a week. We stream Wednesday through Saturday at 6 p.m. Central Time because we are in Dallas, Texas, plus a bonus stream Thursdays at noon. The Thursday stream is usually kind of a fun and easy one. And then next week is our spoopy tutorials week. That means that all of the tutorials next week are going to be Halloween themed. So anybody who wants to make some spoopy jewelry, tune into the Beading Dreams stream next week for all of those fun tutorials. But of course, it's Saturday night. Saturday night means it's time for our Sips Shopping and Shenanigans sale on this channel in about half an hour. So we are going to be back on this channel, twitch.tv/beadingdream at 7:30-ish p.m. with Heather's amazing Apple Dapple cocktail. And we've got medium shiny gemstone beads. I've got some cool base metal spacers that I pulled out of a random box that I went, if I just sold these things, I would not have to keep moving them around. And possibly whatever fun stuff I can dig up in the next 30 minutes. So hopefully we're going to see each and every one of you out there for the sale. If you are going to be joining us, don't forget to pour yourself a cocktail. The recipe for the Apple Dapple is on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And if you are going to be participating in the sale, sorry, that was a repeat. Deja vu. Pour yourself a cocktail. Get comfy, get cozy, get ready for some retail therapy in the comfort of your living room, office, or from wherever you watch the Beading Dreams stream. Heather and I will be back on this channel, twitch.tv/beadingdream in just about 30 minutes with that live merchandise sale. So everyone have a great half an hour, and we will see y'all soon.